Let's bring in our first guest for this segment of the Morning Show today. While Nigerians living in South Africa are currently facing the greatest threat to their lives and property in the renewed xenophobic attacks on foreigners back home, the cry by Nigerian workers for a better minimum wage and good welfare package is yet to subside.
According to research, at least half of the citizens live in extreme poverty due to poor implementation of policies and, of course, the creation of a viable environment for societal growth by the government.
Yes, I agree. Despite years of political growth stability, Nigeria has seen a huge increase in the number of people living in poverty. The debate for a 30,000 naira minimum wage is yet to be fully implemented, and most Nigerian workers are not happy with the development to tackle this inequality amid warnings that it could lead to civil unrest.
And as the symposium to commemorate 10 years of Chief Gani Fawehinmi's death begins today in Abuja with the theme, Nigeria still in crisis, 10 years after Chief Gani Fawehinmi's death. Any hope for the working class? It's a big question, and we'll be engaging Comrade Abiodun Bamigboye, acting National Chairperson, Socialist Party of Nigeria, SPN, from our studios in Abuja to speak on this. All right, great to have you, sir. Comrade.
It is a pleasure to be here.
Real quickly.
Good morning to you there.
Okay. Real quickly, let's go straight to it. We all know the formidable character Gani was. Gani, I love to call him the conscience, you know, the man that fought for the masses in the trenches and constantly, you know, did speak out as regards, you know, many situations, you know, bedeviling Nigerians. And I'll tell you a quick story before I ask this question. The story of Gani Fawehinmi's son, Mohammed, that had an accident in the early 2000s. And if the healthcare infrastructure was proper in the country, there was just a fluid to, you know, numb the back of Gani Fawehinmi's son. But that wasn't the case. Mohammed's in a wheelchair now just because of a defective healthcare system. Does that resonate with the fight for you know, the welfare of citizens in this country for you?
Well, before I make comment on that your story, I mean on your question, it is also very important to say that Mohammed was not only the victim of the terrible state of health sector in Nigeria. Gani himself was. Gani thought he had a minor, heart problem. Having gone through even the best private and public hospital here in Nigeria, he could not be diagnosed that he actually has a lung cancer until when he got to London, which therefore means that if our health sector is working perfectly, there's every likelihood that Gani would have still been alive today. But unfortunately, we lost him to the poor, governance and state of absolute neglect that Nigerian working people are suffering from. And it's a sad story. Yes, we chose to remember Gani after 10 years because we knew that what Gani stood for, of course, why, and the only way Gani can be celebrated is for people like us not only to continue to hold the banner which Gani held throughout the period of his existence, but to continue to raise the banner further than the level he raised it when he was alive. And that is why we chose in 2014, having realized that the problem Nigerian people are facing is the absence of an independent political platform that can serve as a rally point for the mass of the Nigerian poor people, and we decided to launch a Socialist Party of Nigeria. And that is one of the historical steps we have taken towards ensuring that this country is rescued and delivered.
Well, there's an annual NBA lecture held in his honor, a 44th edifice erected by the Lagos State government here in Ojota, Lagos, and you're having this commemoration 10 years after. There are also legal journals and publication in his honor. But beyond all of this, would you say that the sacrifices of Chief Gani Fawehinmi has impacted on the masses in Nigeria and the constitutional liberties of the Nigerian people 10 years after? Before you answer that question, Comrade Bamigboye, would have to go on a quick break. I'll be right back. Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. We still have with us from our Abuja studios, Comrade Abiodun Bamigboye, who is the acting National Chairperson, Socialist Party of Nigeria. Thank you so much for staying with us. And before that break, I was asking you, we do all of these things in honor of Chief Gani, but how much of an impact has his sacrifices had on the common masses, the common Nigerian, and the constitutional liberties of the Nigerian people 10 years after?
Yes, Gani role had a lot of tremendous impacts on the life of Nigerians. You recall that the Anti-Corruption Commission, EFCC, that the ruling elite are celebrating today, was partly part of the clamor and the effort made by Gani when he was alive. That Nigerians now have liberty, like us, to register a political party, despite the fact that we actually have to undergo 4 years legal battle in court before that itself was actualized, was also a product of the struggle, led by Gani. That is outside so many other enormous numbers of struggle waged by Gani. And aside that, his courage has been a source of inspiration to mass of Nigerians, including people like myself. Because each time I see the image and the courage demonstrated and exhibited by Gani when he was alive, it continued to embolden me that I have no cause not to continue. And that is why some of us will continue to remain steadfast and resolute as we have been to ensure that the Nigeria is transformed into a country that all of us can be proud of. For the past few days now, there has been an issue over how Nigerians and other immigrants in South Africa have been victims of xenophobic attack. All of this, whether we like it or not, are product of the legacy of the neoliberal policies of both the Nigerian government and the South Africa government. And that is why, if anybody is to be blamed for the lives that have been lost in South Africa, whether that of Nigerians or other immigrants from other African countries, those that are to be blamed for it are pro-capitalist governments across African countries that always implement neoliberal policies that often force their citizens to be desperate of leaving their respective country. You agree with me that a minimum wage in Nigeria has been approved to be increased to 30,000 naira for over 3 months now. As I speak, the Nigerian government, aside the fact that they have failed to commence the implementation, they have not shown any commitment that the implementation is going to commence anytime soon. So when you now have Nigerians, bankers, resigning from their job, traveling to Canada, even to Togo, there, it's as a result of the fact that the Nigerian government has failed them. And that is why our response to that xenophobic attack is that Nigerian government, as the starting point of responding to this attack to ensure that a decent job are created for the Nigerian poor people, especially youths, who are, as I speak, over 15 or 16 millions of them just wake up on a daily basis without having any prospect of anything doing. And that is why the social crime in society itself continue to increase on a daily basis. And the starting point of also creating job is to also ensure that those currently on job have something to show for it. And that's why the question of minimum wage implementation itself cannot also be completely ruled out from a step that has to be taken by this government to ensure that Nigerians stop running out of the shore of this country for a greener pasture. Okay. I read in the dailies.
Okay, comrade, you have said a lot, but is it still that the case with the recent attacks? You know, you've said a lot about the welfare of an average Nigerian. Is that the case with the recent attack? Because what happened in Lagos yesterday brought back to how things are terribly, as regards the welfare of an average Nigerian. What I saw around the malls in Shangotedo was full-on looting. Because at some point, it wasn't a case of, South African-owned companies, and even Nigerian-owned companies were looted to the bare bones, permit me to use that word, looted to the rafters. Nothing left in those stores. And I saw a lot of people, with poverty in their eyes. Is that a reflection of what people are facing based on this xenophobic happenings?
Yes, you are correct. And that is why our party have issued a statement which has been published in the national dailies. And in that statement, we condemn absolutely not only the xenophobic attack in South Africa, even the retaliatory attack here in Nigeria. They are both condemnable. That is not the way out of this crisis. And what is the way out? Of course, we have to recognize the fact that the looting itself is a reflection of the failure of the Nigerian government, because we should ask a question: who are the people looting? Are they employed Nigerians? Those who are looting, are they people who work in their various working places? No, they are unemployed Nigerians, those who have lost faith in this country. So the recipe for the looting that has, followed the xenophobic attack in Nigeria was actually created by the mass unemployment created by the Nigerian government itself. And that is why despite the fact that we condemn it, we are also calling on Nigerians who are involved in all of those acts to stop it. The best way, to approach that is to begin to organize ourselves with a view to begin to place demand on the Nigerian government itself to ensure that decent jobs are created for Nigeria. And that is why one cannot but also mention or make a statement of what the statement made by NAS itself. Yes, we recognize the fact that a lot of Nigerians who are students in South Africa are also victims of xenophobic attack. But what we think should be the approach of NAS is to begin to organize protests, including lecture boycotts, activities to begin to demand from Nigerian government the need to ensure that affordable and quality education is provided for Nigerians. Because if that is done, ultimately, those Nigerians who run outside this country seeking for a quality education wouldn't have been. And the Nigerian Labour Congress, the TUC, and the ULC cannot also, continue to be unconcerned or onlooker concerning this issue.
Okay.
They also have the responsibility to begin.
Okay.
Let me take you back to something you said earlier, Comrade Bamigboye. You talked about political parties. And yes, to his credit, the late Chief Gani Fawehinmi expanded the political space and allowed for the registration of more political parties. 10 years after his death, we are debating the expediency of what some people refer to as some unwholesome number of political parties and their relevance. And that's including Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, who says some of these parties should not be in existence. 10 years after his death, what do you think has gone wrong? Why are we debating shrinking that space that Gani Fawehinmi fought so hard to expand?
Well, when the issue was still very, very fresh, our party also responded to that. Though Falana has come out to actually say that his opinion was actually misrepresented in the media, that was what he actually meant. Because if that is what he meant, people like us actually condemn it, because we recognize the role Falana himself played in the struggle to expand the political space in Nigeria. For him, 10 years after, to have been, if truly that is what he meant, though he has denied it, to me, it's like a renunciation of one's part, which I don't think is appropriate. However, when you look at the population of Nigeria compared to the number of political parties we have, to me, I don't think even 91 political parties itself is enough for a huge population of over 200 million Nigerians. But however, that's some political parties are docile, not functional. That itself has to be blamed. I mean, the blame for that has to be placed squarely at the doorstep of the Nigerian government and the undemocratic nature of the Nigerian electoral system itself. You followed what happens in the last election. It was an election that was characterized with all forms of manipulation and electoral malpractices. And the election in Nigeria has become, I mean, the game of the higher bidder or the highest bidder. So it is only those who have money to project their image in the media that are always being regarded to as the successful political party. But that itself has to be blamed. For instance, in Nigeria, if you have a democratically conducted local government election, some of these small political parties, parties that are referred to as small political party, ultimately wouldn't have any business, participating in the national or state election. They will have intervened in the local government election and use it to showcase its policy.
Okay, thank you so much for that. So we're going on a short break right now, but once we come back, we'll continue this conversation.